you're technically a person whose actually goal is to align the mind with the body. I mean, so that one can have full control on how his mind thinks and how he acts, how he behaves with people. I mean, everything is the central CPU of the brain.
Yeah.
To one extent. And I want to understand that in this entire process, how do you discover that there is a cognitive decline happening? And how does one figure out that these are the early signs that I need to look? Because these signs are now going to basically lose my control over my mind. Because it's a very distracted world every day.
Yeah, it is.
So I want to understand, how does one figure out the decline?
Yeah, he has to do examinations. So we have examinations when you usually what happens is for an adult, for example, he starts feeling the same. The first symptom is not being able to pay attention. It's very rare attention deficit in adults, very rare. Now it's trendy. Everybody wants to have attention deficit. Like in 10 years ago everybody was bipolar. So it's, we have this mental health trend as well. But usually people are burning out, or are with stress, or they are not being able to deal with some anxiety issue, and they start. One thing that it's immediately affected is attention. That's why even in kids we need to first see the levels of anxiety of that kid before we start examining for ADHD, for attention deficit, because we know that one interferes in the other. So usually in adults it's not a question of they having ADHD or AD in case of it, but it's sometimes other conditions that imitates the symptoms of ADHD for adults. So what we do is we have examinations. We use functional EEG to measure the electrical brain activity.
The brain activity, yeah?
Yes, because we know that in ADHD there is certain patterns, electrical patterns that show, and that helps us adding to other tools that we use to the assessment for ADHD in adults. Not only that, but also the life story, does that adult was like that before he was 12? Because this is very important. If you didn't have any symptom until 12, it probably is not ADHD.
Correct.
So we have very effective ways to assess.
So do you find do you find parents come to you and say that my child has been smart, but when he's going and trying to communicate or explain any sort of strategy or any sort of context, he's not able to put words and he's not able to communicate in terms of his language as far as clarity is concerned. Do you find such type of parents coming to you?
Yes. In fact, not communicating is one thing, not expressing language is another thing. If they don't communicate, for us, this is a concern, because they cannot, maybe he can't express verbal language, but he can communicate non-verbally. So if he can communicate non-verbally, it's easy for us to, with speech therapists and other therapists.
No, my issue is that he's not able to communicate his thoughts. So he can understand what you're talking to him. He's smart, but he's not able to communicate his thoughts.
Well, if a child is not able to communicate what we call hierarchize, make a hierarchy of thinking and expressing his thought, is because probably he has an intellectual delay.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't understand, and cannot do this hierarchy of thinking, is because probably he has some kind of intellectual delay that doesn't let him do, or a speech delay or something like that, or psychological delays as well. We have trauma, for example, in children. We have selective mutism. When there is trauma, they see certain things, or sometimes not big capital things, some small things that they traumatize. They get traumatized with that, and they get this selective mutism. It's like we call it conversion disease. Their body chooses not to speak. It's like a conversion thing. It's a non-neurological mutism. It doesn't, and it's psychological. We have this with adults as well.
How are Alzheimer's very different?